Well, let's talk a little bit about how you first met Rodney, because I don't think the world knows that story. Maybe a
Uh,
few people do.
well, in public school here, for some reason, I don't know who made this rule, but in our school, wherever you sat for lunch the first day in school, you had a lunch period. We had like 3 lunch periods, and they were assigned to you by the school. You didn't pick them. It's based on when, how your class schedule went. So you'd go in the lunchroom and everyone's nervously looking around, or maybe they have friends already and they're sitting with them. But I didn't have any friends in my lunch period that I knew because I only had a couple of friends and they were in different lunch periods. So I just sat somewhere and it happened to be at the table Rodney sat with some other people, and that's where we sat for the rest of the semester for lunch every time. And I didn't know Rodney. Rodney didn't know me. Um, but I got to know him uh, just from having lunch every day, Monday through Friday. And he was just he was like the center of attention at our table.
Was he mischievous? Did he get up to no good?
Yeah, he was mischievous, but at least, in the way he tells the stories, he was. And he was on journalism. He was in the journalism class with my best friend and neighbor, Garth. I wasn't in that class. I was in the electronic journalism, which was the TV class, because I wanted to be on TV. That was my goal before I wanted to be a musician, was to be on TV and to do funny comedy things, like maybe be a TV writer or maybe be a TV comic. But Rodney was really the TV comic. When I saw him, he was like acting like a little Johnny Carson, doing stand-up routines every afternoon at lunch. I made a tape with Garth called So Long 70s that was branded as the Dead Milkmen, and Garth passed passed this tape around. Like we made a cover for it, and we made it look like a real cassette, or tried to. And Rodney heard it. He he lent it to Rodney. Rodney heard it, and he came to me after school while we were waiting for our buses and said, "Yeah, I heard this tape So Long 70s. It's brilliant. When's your next recording session? How can I be a part of it? I play banjo." And I said, "Really?" I wasn't even thinking there would be another recording session. But right then on the spot, for some reason, I said, "How does next Saturday sound?" And I, we exchanged information, and he came over with his banjo, and lo and behold, another of my neighbors and Garth, we're all together. We set this all up, and we just ad-libbed songs. And the brilliant thing is that I think he just came up with lyrics on the spot to chord progressions that we were coming up together with, and we made a tape that became the seed of the second tape we did called Folk Songs for the '80s. The whole idea of the Dead Milkmen was that, of course, they were the terrible combination of punk and folk music, so it would be folk punk, and it wasn't supposed to work, but it somehow did. We Rodney became a part of the band and became a part of the fictitious story after that, and we made some more tapes together. That's the way we kind of fell into writing songs together. Rodney was kind of the lyric guy, and I was kind of the music guy. He still would come up with music ideas or music as well, and I would come up with lyric ideas and lyrics as well.
Can he still play banjo to this day?
He didn't really play the banjo like anybody normally would, but I guess so. I guess he could still play it that way. Like for example, the song Rostabilly from the first album, he wrote on banjo. Those are notes he picked out on banjo at the time, and just had the song that goes that way. And then I just came up with chords to do the other part, the non down. So that was supposed to be a combination of rockabilly and and reggae. It didn't really end up that way, but that's what it was supposed to be.
So In the early days of the band, it sounded like you were kind of the lead vocalist. We heard a little bit of Rodney, but by the time the first album came out, it was like all Rodney, and you had like one and a half songs. Could you talk about why he sort of took the lead vocals?
I sang more of the songs than Rodney did at first. There was a period of time after Dave joined the band, and we still weren't a real band, but I met Dave at college, and he and I started writing songs together too, and we started writing music. And Rodney didn't go to college where I did. I went to college in Philadelphia. Um, he sent us lyrics through the mail, and we would put music to them. Dave and I would read his lyrics and come up with music to after the lyrics were already written, come up with music to him. And Rodney, I would sing them and record them and play them for Rodney next time I met him, and he was fine with that arrangement for the most part. But and he did play drums with us on some recordings, but Dave didn't think he was up to snuff, um, with keeping a beat. So we started audition behind Rodney's back. We didn't tell him I was still at college. We started auditioning drummers, and I think it was only the second one, was Dean, and we thought he was perfect, and Dean wanted to be in the band. And Dean got us a gig literally 2 weeks after he joined the band, and Rodney still didn't know about it. I had written Rodney a letter explaining that we were going to hire Dean as the drummer, and he wrote back and was fine about that. I guess he was a little like, oh, I still have the letter somewhere. Um, so you're replacing me as the drummer, then, you know, what can I am I still going to write? I still wanted him to write lyrics, but quickly I had to make a decision because I didn't expect to have a gig so fast, but Dean got one through his friend John. Um, Dean had been in a band before that too, but they had kind of broken up suddenly, and I was sort of suspicious maybe this was a gig that was meant for his other band and we were just replacing them, but I don't really know. Um, we wanted to play. Dave especially wanted to play the gig, so I had to get a hold of Rodney, and there was no cell phones back then, and no one was. He had a dorm room cell phone, not I mean a dorm room payphone, but it was hard to get in touch with him. I finally got in touch with his mom to call me back, and it was like maybe the Thursday before the show was supposed to happen. I'm saying, Rodney, do you want to sing our songs? And I, it's like this is literally like 3 days before the show. He came to Philly that Friday, and the show was Saturday, and we went through a whole list of the songs that he wrote half the lyrics, so he already knew them. And I think it was Dean couldn't come with us that to practice that Friday, but Dave was with us. Dave and me and Rodney just went through the songs acoustically, and the next day was when the whole band got together for the first time with Rodney singing, and it was at the show, and it worked out pretty well. So we knew that that was the way it was meant to be. That's the story of how Rodney really came into the band.